Sadistic Intentions.
And I believe we watched it on Amazon Video. I thought this movie was pretty cool. The whole metal music aspect, his band and everything.
Yes, I loved some of the humor related to that. I'm a huge black metal fan, and sometimes people auto-judge you or whatnot because of that style of music. And it was just funny to see some of the things that he had to say.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of his band, but it was like a really ridiculous name, but it was pretty cool. But this movie was weird and awesome. I loved it.
Same. It was really fun. The characters were likable. It threw a lot of curveballs. Would you recommend this movie?
Yes, I would. Would you?
Yes, 100%. Check it out.
Dybbuk Box, True Story of Chris Chambers.
This one is nice and short at a lean 60 minutes. We also watched this one on Amazon Prime Video. It's filmed in like a found footage style.
Like Paranormal Activity, pretty much.
Yes, and he's a YouTuber or something, and he just gets a Dybbuk box and opens it, and it shows all the craziness that happens after that. It is pretty entertaining for what was obviously a low budget, and it's great that it was so short because anything longer probably would have been pushing it, but nothing too out of this world happens either, so.
No, I thought it was really well done, but I just hated the character because I'm like, you're really going to open this thing just for some views on YouTube? Like, come on, man. Like,
bad decisions were made.
Very bad decisions. But I would recommend this movie. Would you?
I would too. I think especially with as short as it is, it's worth a watch.
Autopsy, which is also part of the After Dark Horror Fest 3 collection DVD that we have. Most notable cast member in this movie was Robert Patrick.
There were some cool moments of gore in this. I guess if you're a fan of some practical effects, you know, some good gore, that this is a pretty passable movie.
Yeah, the gore scenes were pretty freaking awesome. The storyline was a little, you know, ridiculous.
Yeah, it got muddled too. Some of the motivations became very unclear and whatnot as far as why the people in this hospital were doing some of these things.
It was a fun watch, though.
Yeah, it was definitely more enjoyable than some of the other things we saw this month. I would recommend it, but not if you're like on a time crunch. I would say maybe if you're like, again, just you don't mind if there's not much else to the movie that's entertaining besides the gore.
Yeah, I would recommend it too.
So here's another of the 8 films to die for from my DVD pack. It's The Broken with the lovely Lena Headey. This one was definitely much more subtle than I think any of the other movies in this pack. It was much more cerebral, tame, I guess.
It was really weird, but like a good weird.
Yes.
It's like one of those movies where you're invested in it and you're just like, what is going on?
Exactly. I was never bored. I definitely wanted to understand what was happening, and there were some pretty eerie moments. They're just a lot more subtle and toned down than like Autopsy, for example.
Yeah, and I think once they finally like explain things towards the end, it's not like super ridiculous or anything, and it's like ruins the movie. It's actually really clever, and I think it's really cool. And you said it was kind of like Invasion of Body Snatchers or something.
Yes, I got that vibe. I would absolutely recommend this movie. I think especially compared to some of the others in this box set, it was very good.
Totally. It's probably one of the better movies in the Horrorfest 3.
Oh, right. This is a great one for me. Dolls from 1987, directed by Stuart Gordon. I watched this a lot when I was a kid. I have such fond memories and really a lot of nostalgia tied up in this one. You know, the cover of the movie, the poster, whatever you want to say, where the doll is holding the eyeballs. I just think it's so memorable and cool. And the part, I don't want to do spoilers, but there are just so many little moments in this movie that are super memorable. And I definitely know I liked it more than you just because of all my memories and nostalgia and stuff.
Yeah, this is my first time ever seeing Dolls, but it was pretty cool. I like, these 80s movies where they actually did practical effects. They made all these creepy dolls and they did all these creepy things with these little dolls and stuff, whether it be stop motion or whatever the hell they were doing.
Puppeteering.
Nowadays, if they did this movie, all the dolls would be CGI. And it would all look like garbage in about 5 years. Also, we watched this on Shudder.
It's in a lot of places on streaming right now. I also own it on VHS, so that's how long I've been a fan of this movie. And I don't know, it has a good cast. Like, the little girl's actually a really good actress, and she's really likable. A lot of little kids in horror movies can be annoying, but I don't know. It's just a really cute, it's cute and creepy at the same time. It's super fun.
It has a charm to it.
Exactly. It's a really awesome vibe that a modern day recreation of something like this could never copy.
So I would recommend this movie. Would you recommend this movie?
100% recommend this movie. Okay, now we have Run, which I believe is a Hulu original, and we watched it on Hulu. It's the Sarah Paulson movie that's very Gypsy Rose-esque.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I definitely liked this movie. I think this is exactly the same thing as what I mentioned with The Call, even though I couldn't remember the exact incident. I was super into this movie and I thought it was great until there were a couple of just super convenient or cliche type things that happened that just knocked it down a couple notches for me, but it's still a really interesting, tense watch. I really had a good time with this.
Yeah, Sarah Paulson's really creepy in this. Like, there's a couple scenes where she's just really weird.
For real.
She's really weird. And I liked all the stuff that comes out at the end, like all the stuff that you learn and the revelations or whatever. And I won't give anything away, but the last scene was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was very inspired by Gypsy Rose, definitely.
What I would like to throw out there real quick is the act with Patricia Arquette and Joey King. It's like a mini-series thing, and it was so freaking good. Like, this movie was good, and it's not based on a true story, but I just wanted to throw that out there for anyone that really liked this movie or that maybe wants to know more about the Gypsy Rose thing, because that act series was really pretty accurate to the real-life story.
I would recommend Run, by the way.
All right, next we have Voices, which is a Korean horror film that we watched on my 8 Horror Films to Die For or whatever DVD pack. This is probably my favorite one out of all the movies on there. I really, really like this movie. This is one of those Asian horror films that has a couple of the cliche tropes that are in a lot of Asian horror films, but even when there's really cheesy CGI or things like that, the movie is still 100% likable. And a lot of the Asian horror films that I like suffer from that, whether it's just because they're dated or because they didn't have the funding in the first place. It doesn't look that great in parts, but you totally overlook that because it's just a good movie.
Yeah, I really like this one too. I feel like when we first put it on, we were kind of whatever about it. But then there was a scene in the beginning. I don't even remember what happened now, but we were both like, whoa, because it was really violent. And we were just both like, holy crap, and
seriously. Then
we were really invested, and then.
Yeah, and then it becomes the story itself. You get very intrigued, oh wow, wait, what? Who's doing this? Or why is this actually happening? I don't know. I mean, clearly it's not for everyone because the average rating on Letterboxd isn't very high, but we really liked this.
I loved it. I would totally recommend this.
I would definitely recommend this. All right, The Dentist 2, directed by good old Brian Yezna. We watched this one on Tubi. Basically, this is more of the same. If you like the original Dentist, you're probably going to like this one too. What I will say is that the first one is a lot more fun and we liked it more. Both movies have awesome effects and gore and stuff, but I just feel like the first one was so much more enjoyable.
But I know we both seen these when we were little, and I know I've seen the second one, but for some reason I only remember scenes from the first one. I don't ever remember scenes from the second one. So watching this one was almost like watching it for the first time again. Between the two, the first one's definitely better.
Yeah, so I would recommend it, but I would recommend the first one more.
Totally. I would recommend it as well. It's still fun. It's just over the top fun. So next up is Freddy vs. Jason, and we watched this one on Friday, August 13th. We didn't know which Friday the 13th movie we should watch, for Friday the 13th, so we got on one of those websites where you can spin the wheel and have it pick a winner. So I went in and I put all the Friday the 13th movies, including Freddy vs. Jason, and spun the wheel, and that's what it landed on. And we watched this on my glorious Blu-ray that I have. It was a lot of fun.
It was. I know we watched this movie together in the past, but I guess just like the fact that it was Friday the 13th, and I think it's funny too that this was the one it landed on because I am a huge Freddy Krueger fan and I love Freddy more. So I thought it was funny that this is the one it landed on of all. But yeah, we both love this movie. We both have such fond memories of going to see it in the theater. I know a lot of people do not like it, and I understand that it has its flaws, but I'm just not sure how you couldn't get a kick out of this. If you love Freddy, Jason, both, whatever, like, this movie's awesome.
If you love Freddy and you love Jason, how can you not like Freddy versus Jason? It's like everybody talks crap about it now, I feel like, but at the time it came out, like, everybody was head over heels for it. Yeah. It's like some kind of cool thing to hate on something. Get out of here. The movie's awesome.
Yeah, and 100% recommend.
I would recommend this as well.
From Within, which is another of the 8 Films to Die For DVD pack. Thomas Dekker is in this. I know him from the Terminator TV show, among some other things. I remember liking this a lot more when I first saw it when I was younger. However, I did still really like it, just not quite as much. I found it to be a little bit more corny than I remember. I thought I remembered being a little bit more spooked out by it. It's a really good watch. I think there's some cool ideas here. I sort of feel like maybe It Follows could have possibly ripped it off a teeny bit, but who knows?
Yeah, I thought this was really cool as well. Apparently I had watched it before and totally forgot about it, but I really enjoyed it. It had a really cool storyline, very similar to It Follows. It was fun. I liked it.
And I would definitely recommend it.
I would definitely recommend it as well. Next up, we watched Near Dark, which Hellcat had the DVD for. It's directed by Catherine Bigelow and stars Lance Hendrickson and Bill Paxton.
But I have like this special edition thing that's really freaking cool. It has like this big booklet and the packaging is all neat. And I basically sought this film out because I remembered loving it so much the first time I watched it. The movie does hold up. I did really enjoy it. I don't know if I would say I enjoyed it as much as I did the very first time I saw it, but it's so cool. It's like a much more serious and darker version of The Lost Boys. It's very different tonally, and it's much more like graphic and stuff when it comes to some of the blood and things.
Well, for me, never seeing it before ever until now, I really liked it. My favorite scene was the scene in the bar.
Right.
That was just so over the top and crazy. I loved it. I don't know, maybe it's just the 80s fact that it's, was made in the 80s. I feel like it just feels better than most vampire movies I've seen. I'm not really a big vampire guy, but this movie was pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah, and I'm the opposite. I love vampire movies, so I just think that the way they did this really differently, and they never ever use the word vampire. They never straight up reference vampires, but they are affected by the sunlight and things like that. It's really cool. It's really different, and I would definitely recommend this movie very highly.
So would I. The Church from 1989, and we watched this on Hellcat's DVD that she owns.
This movie is crazy. There's so many weird things that happen that just make you go, what? Because the tone changes so often and there's lots of really unexpected things. It is a roller coaster ride of a flick. I mean, I definitely like it, though it's not like my favorite Italian horror movie in the universe or anything. It is a fun watch and I would recommend it.
I believe this is sometimes referred to as Demons 3. Don't hold me to it, but I'm pretty sure it's Demons 3. I just remember this movie being a big gore fest, and it was fun to watch. I had never seen it before. I would totally recommend this movie, especially if you like Italian horror or the first two Demon movies. demons. Butterfly Kisses from 2018. We watched this one on Tubi. This movie was awesome. It's like a found footage documentary type style. It had a really well written story. I think it was really well crafted. The backstory they gave, to the legend and everything was really, thought out. Not sure if it's based on anything in real life, but I don't know. I really like this one and I would really recommend it.
Yes, Peeping Tom was definitely a very interesting creation. The thought of that legend is definitely creepy. I actually went on to purchase this on DVD after we watched it because I liked it that much. Also, I said this to Psycho while we were watching it. It reminded me of pretty much one of my all-time favorite books, House of Leaves. The layers to it and just the fact that the obsession goes on and on through different generations and stuff. It was so interesting to me. We also just wanted to say a really quick rest in peace to director Eric Christopher Myers. We found out that he passed away very shortly after we just saw this film for the first time, so our condolences to Eric's family. Malignant from 2021. You have to have heard of this movie already if you're a horror fan. We watched it on HBO Max. It's super fun. We are in the I don't know if it's the minority or the majority because it seems like everybody both loves and hates this, but we enjoyed it. We thought it was a great time. I know some people say that the twist or whatever was really obvious, but we didn't necessarily see it coming. I had the idea in my head, but I didn't say it out loud. Still, the way it was revealed was shocking and awesome. Shout out Zoe Bell. I'd recommend this.
I would recommend this too. It's definitely not James Wan's best horror film he's ever made or anything like that, but I liked it. I had fun with it. Yeah, the twist is a little absurd and things get a little ridiculous towards the end, but it's a fun movie. It's a fun ride, and that's what movies are for. So I would recommend it. Check it out.
Keepsake from 2010, which is also from one of my DVDs in what we call the crappy packs. However, this is definitely one of the best of the crappy horror movie packs, in my opinion. Again, my second time viewing this, it's one of the only ones I remembered. It's definitely one of the only ones I remembered liking. I think the twist is really cool. Some might say they see it coming, but, I highly doubt that's the truth. There are definitely some slow parts and some parts where you're frustrated by the lead's decisions and behaviors, but overall, I like this one and would recommend it.
I would also recommend this movie. It's definitely one of the hidden gems in the crappy horror movie pack world. I do agree that there are some slow parts. I think that's probably the only negative to it. And there are some things that the main character does that's questionable, but I think the twist at the end kind of makes you understand why those choices were made. Also, the main killer guy looks like Chris Watts, and it's really creepy.
It's disturbing AF. Also, we're talking about this one a little bit longer than the other ones, and I apologize. I just have to throw in that there is a decent amount of nudity. There's definitely some, abusive and very uncomfortable and icky situations in this, so trigger warning, we're recommending it, but with caution. Curtains from 1983. We watched this on one of my DVDs. It's actually in one of our crappy horror movie packs, but again, I gotta say, this is one of the gems. Definitely one of the stars of the show. I've seen this 2 times now. I like the reveal of the killer. I don't think that it's obvious who it is. Maybe to some people it would be, but I like that it's not obvious. That mask is iconic. I'm sure you've seen it in GIFs or stills and maybe even wondered what the heck it was from. That mask is so creepy. The weird little doll is creepy. The movie is a little bit scattered. I think there were some production problems. I remember reading that somewhere. I like it a lot overall, and I would recommend it.
So in the crappy horror movie packs, they always randomly throw in these old 80s movies and things, and this is one of the random 80s movies that's thrown in there, and it's a good 80s movie. It's not a crappy movie. I had never seen this before. This was my first viewing, and I did see GIFs online of the weird creepy mask and never seen the movie and was like, I gotta see that movie one day, and I finally seen it and I liked it. I thought it was really well done. I like the storyline with the actresses all going to the guy's house to audition for this movie, and he's just like kind of,
slimy.
He's kind of slimy, but he's also like, I don't know, like strict and hardcore, so to say. And he's played by John Vernon, who was in Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But this movie's cool. Highly recommend it. Definitely an 80s horror movie gem. Next is The Descent from 2005, which we watched our own DVD copy. I had seen this movie a very long time ago when it first came out. Really didn't remember much of it other than the ending. And the DVD that we watched actually had a completely different ending, so I was a little confused on that. Apparently there's multiple endings. But this movie's really cool. I love it. I would definitely recommend people to go out and see this movie.
I've always been a big fan of this movie. That's why I bought it. I hadn't seen it in an extremely long time either, though. So it was really fun to come back to it and be shocked in certain parts I forgot about all over again. I would definitely recommend this movie.
Next is Till Death, which we watched on Netflix from this year. Just came out not too long ago. I enjoyed this movie, but it is pretty ridiculous. There's some parts in it where it's just like, what is going on? A little over the top, so to speak, but overall, it's pretty average. It's entertaining. I don't know. I guess I would recommend it.
Yes, this is sort of another one of those suspension of belief kinds of things. I mean, you sort of have to let all the logistics go. The more they reveal about how and why she's in this situation and why she's under attack and everything, it all gets a little bit outlandish. But that's kind of what makes it fun. And there were plenty of parts where we were like, oh, or, just reacting to it because it was pretty fun to watch. It's definitely a mediocre movie, but I would still recommend it. Books of Blood from 2020, which we watched on Hulu. This is an anthology film based on Clive Barker's Books of Blood. I have not read the source material, so I can't really compare it. We all know the book is always better. It has its ups and downs just like every anthology. There were some really cool effects, some really lame effects, some really likable people, some really frustrating people. I think overall, I felt like it was worth watching, so I would recommend it.
I would recommend this movie as well. It's not the greatest horror anthology movie out there, but it was pretty well done, and there were definitely some pretty fucked up moments, so I really enjoyed this.
Dark Water, the 2005 remake, which we watched on HBO Max. I love the original film, and I had never seen the remake. For some reason, I was having a difficult time finding anywhere to watch it, so when we saw it on HBO Max, we turned it on pretty much right away. I can't really say it's a great film. I do really like Jennifer Connelly, and there were things that I liked about this movie. It definitely, uses the exact same story, so if you like the original, you have that, but I would just rather watch the original version. Nonetheless, I would recommend this, but not as a priority.
Well, I have not seen the original, which I need to correct one day, and I had seen this remake before. I actually saw it in the theaters when it came out. But that being said, this movie's a little corny, but I like it. So if you know anything about the real life story of Elisa Lam, this movie actually has a different impact on you if you already know that story going in. So seeing it again, knowing that, made it a little creepy. I would recommend this if you're just looking for a PG-13 movie to watch. VHS 94 from 2021, which we watched on Shudder. So I thought this movie was pretty awesome. It was definitely better than VHS Viral, which we both really did not like that movie. It's definitely not better than the first two VHS movies, but it definitely had some good parts in there. There was like one little segment that was kind of lacking, but overall it was pretty cool. I would recommend this.
I think this is an anthology film that does have something for everyone. The stories are really varied, and I probably liked this movie overall more than most people, it seems like. The segment at the end definitely was like a downer. As soon as it was over, we were talking about how we kind of wish they would have put things in a different order, but other than that, I would recommend it.
The Furies from 2019, which we watched on Shudder. I thought this movie was fucking awesome. I loved it. I loved all the killers. I loved all their outfits and their masks and everything. Skin Crow was my favorite. He was pretty gross and just weird, but very original. I didn't really care too much for the ending, but I would highly recommend this movie.
I also very much enjoyed this movie. There was lots of crazy stuff going on. It keeps you interested the whole time. Jacob's Wife, which came out this year, and we watched on Shudder. Had to watch Queen Barbara Crampton, of course. She's still kicking ass, taking names, being awesome. This was a fun movie. Crazy gore. Loved the part where she went to the dentist. And the ending was great. I would recommend this movie.
I would recommend this movie as well. I think everything about this movie was really cool. They got the comedy right, with the horror and everything. The one thing I did not like, though, was the makeup effects or whatever that they did with the head or like leader of the vampires. I thought the person kind of looked a little corny. They could have did a little better job on that. But otherwise, this movie was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun.
Halloween Kills 2021, which we saw in the theater. We are in the minority when we say we enjoyed this flick. Obviously, there were plenty of things that I didn't love about it, but for the most part, the characters were frustrating, annoying jerks, and I had a great time watching Michael annihilate them. Sorry, not sorry. Also, I would just drop real quick that the only thing I really did not like at all, besides the annoying mob mentality crap, was that the innocent, scared, short, stout guy was mistaken for Michael Myers and ended up dying because of it. That was effed up, and I don't feel like it was necessary for the story at all. Other than that, yes, I do recommend it.
So I really enjoyed this movie, and I would definitely recommend this movie if you're a fan of the Michael Myers series. I think my two biggest complaints about this movie is the mob storyline goes on for way too long. I think they should have toned that down. I don't know. I just really didn't like it. And then the whole Evil Dies Tonight got a little cringy how many times they said it. Mm-hmm. My only other real complaint is the scene in towards the beginning where Michael Myers fights the firefighters. I really was hoping that scene would last a little longer. They really build it up and he comes out, it's all slow motion and he's about to take on these firefighters and then it's like boom, 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 they're all dead, it's over. 30 seconds. What? I was just expecting something. I wasn't expecting some crazy John Wick fight scene, but just a little longer, But other than that, I really enjoyed the movie. I think 2018's Halloween was a lot better, but for what it's worth, I think this one was pretty good and I would recommend it. The Return of the Living Dead from 1985, which we watched on my Blu-ray copy. I would highly recommend this movie if you have not seen it. It is fucking awesome. And I love everything about it.
I agree. If you haven't seen this, what are you even doing with your life? If you're a horror fan, watch this immediately, if not sooner. It's funny, it's gory, it's creative, it's just effing awesome. I will quickly add, I remember watching this movie with my dad on multiple occasions. May he rest in peace. It gives me good, warm and fuzzy vibes. Every time I watch it, I think of him. Recommend 110%. The Cleansing Hour from 2019, which we watched on Shudder. I was actually quite impressed with this movie. Despite a lot of unlikable characters and a premise that just seemed kind of absurd, it was so much fun and it had some insane, crazy things going on in it. It's just holy cow. I don't even know what to say. I would definitely recommend it. I feel like a lot of the reviews on Letterboxd, people didn't like it, but we had a blast watching this, so I say check it out.
This is one of the movies that we talked about in our favorite horror movie trailers videos. And I feel like if you watch the trailer for this before going in it, you're probably going to think, wow, this movie looks really corny. But it's not corny, and it was actually really cool. It was kind of surprising, it surprised me a little bit. I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And the ending, they really had the balls in the ending to go where they went with it. And I thought it was really cool. And I would recommend this. Go check it out.
Sun from 2021, which we watched on Shudder. I liked this movie more than I thought I was going to. It is another trailer that we talked about in one of our other videos. However, it still was better than I thought it was going to be, just like The Cleansing Hour was. And I do recommend it. There were definitely some super messed up moments. It's quite original. It's got some concepts that it draws from other things, but I don't know. I saw a lot of people saying they thought it was just a copy of other movies and, it's all been done before and la-di-da, but I liked it, so I recommend it.
Yeah, this falls in the subcategory of my kid is possessed or crazy or something and he's going around doing weird shit. There's 1,000 horror movies like that, but when we turned this on, we originally turned it on and we were like, let's just put this on and see what it's like. But actually, it really surprised us, and, even though it is one of those types of movies, it was cool. It was fun, and we had a lot of fun with it, and it turned out to be really good. So I would also recommend this movie. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch from 1982, which we watched on my Blu-ray. I love this movie and I cannot recommend it more. If you like Halloween, or if you like the Halloween movies and you didn't like Halloween 3 because Michael Myers wasn't in it, go back and give it another shot. Stop being that person. Just go give it another shot. Highly recommend this.
Yeah, you could even just pretend that it's not a part of the whole Michael Myers thing and watch it as a standalone film. I don't understand how people could love Trick or Treat and the vibes that gives and not like this movie. Obviously they're not the same, but they're both so much fun to watch around Halloween, and yeah, I would definitely recommend this. It's a great flick. House LLC from 2015, which we watched on my unrated director's cut DVD version. I've seen this movie so many times, but I just realized I think I had only watched it on streaming before, even though I went and rushed out to buy this DVD because I love this movie so much, and I watch it literally every single October and more than that usually. I don't think I had ever watched a director's cut. There were all these things that I had never seen. I'm like, that wasn't in there originally. Oh, that wasn't in there. So it was extra fun. Even though I've seen this movie so many times, I got to see little moments that I hadn't seen before. Man, it's a freaky movie. It feels real. You feel like you're a part of the situation. It is like found footage done right. Also, don't watch any of the sequels. But as far as this one's concerned, fuck yeah, I recommend it.
I would also highly recommend you see this movie if you haven't. I really enjoyed this movie. This was a movie that Hellcat introduced to me. Yeah, this movie is just really cool. There's a lot of subtle things going on in certain scenes in the backgrounds. So even if you watch it more than once, you're going to see things or pick up on things. It's just creepy. Also, real quick, I found somebody online that actually makes the clown mask, and Hellcat's like, no, don't buy it.
I don't want that freaky thing in my house.
Halloween 2 from 1981. We watched this on my Blu-ray. I highly recommend this movie. This is probably my most watched Halloween movie. I had this on a recorded off television VHS as a kid and probably wore that tape out watching it. I don't know. I just really like this movie. I like everything about it. Michael Myers is super creepy in this one, so go check it out.
Yes, I would also recommend this, of course. I always remember being a kid eating fresh out of the oven pumpkin seeds that my mom made watching this. So again, I get warm and fuzzy vibes, which I know makes no sense when you are watching this movie and Michael Myers is brutally killing people, but hey, it is what it is, okay? Just go watch it. Censor from 2021, which we watched on a rented Netflix disc. This lead actress looks so much like Samantha Morton, you guys. It's freaky. Freaks me out. I liked this movie. I don't think I liked it as much as I thought I would when I saw the trailer. This was another one we talked about in our favorite horror trailers series. It was still really cool. I guess it just took a little while to really get going. I definitely think the stuff that happened at the end was pretty freaking gnarly and pretty freaking cool. So I would recommend it.
I would recommend this movie as well. This is a very weird movie. I really enjoyed the storyline for this, with her working for the Censor people and she's watching all these fucked up horror movies and the whole video nasty list that was actually a real thing in the 80s, and it's just cool seeing all that, seeing a movie revolve around all that, and then the story that takes place on top of it. I thought that was really cool, really clever. It just gets really weird at the end, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked how everything came to a head at the end there, so I would recommend it. Murder Party from 2007, which we watched on a DVD that we own. This is another horror comedy that's just great for Halloween. highly recommend this movie if you like, comedy in your horror. If you just like Halloween in general and you want to see some ridiculous shenanigans take place. Also some brutal shit towards the end.
This is another movie that I watch every single Halloween and probably multiple times throughout the year randomly without even realizing how much I'm watching it. I don't even know what it is about this movie that I love so much, but one thing I will say is that this time around we watched the behind the scenes on my DVD copy, or the making of, I should say, sorry. And these people have been making films since they were kids. They've been friends for ages, and you can just tell they had a real passion behind it. They couldn't get anyone to pick this up, and finally they were like, fuck it, we're gonna do it ourselves. And I am so effing glad they did. I know that there's so many moments of humor and gore and just really random awkwardness that wouldn't have ended up in the movie if some big fancy pants studio had picked this up and had their say. So I cannot recommend this enough. I definitely think you should watch it if you haven't already. Trick or Treat from 2007, which we watched on our own personal copy. This is one of the 3 movies I watch every single Halloween. Can't get enough of Sam the Little Cutie. Never gonna get over how original and awesome this is. This is the type of movie you can watch a bazillion times and catch fun little things that you didn't see before. I just think it's brilliant how they intertwined all the stories and all the characters. This is just a damn near perfect film, and it is the perfect Halloween film. Definitely recommend it.
I would highly recommend this movie. This is one of those movies that I don't even care if you're into horror movies or not. Like, go out and see this movie, especially if it's the month of October. You need to watch this movie. It's awesome. I don't even know what to say. This is pretty much an instant classic when it came out. So I love this movie, and I cannot go the month of October without watching it. Night of the Demons from 1988, which we watched on our Blu-ray copy. This movie is pretty fucking cool. I had never seen this movie before prior to meeting Hellcat, and she exposed me to it, and I was like, damn, where was this movie all my life? This is another perfect movie to watch during the month of October.
Yes, this, Trick or Treat, and Murder Party are the 3 movies that I always try to watch on or as close to Halloween as possible every single year. I never get sick of them. They are all so perfect, like Psycho said, for the month of October and for Halloween. We rented this movie from the video store when I was a kid, and my gosh, my sister and I watched this so many times. We were so obsessed with it. I can quote almost every line. I quote it all the time just in everyday life. I love this movie so much, and I feel like anyone who gives it negative ratings just does not know how to have fun. Eat a bowl of fuck, because I am here to party. Recommend 100%. Bloody Murder from the year 2000, which we watched on one of our crappy horror movie DVD packs. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I think when it first started, I kind of dismissed it thinking, wow, this is ridiculous, because it really is ridiculous. The way it looks, the acting, the storyline is a direct ripoff of Friday the 13th, like everything about it. I would recommend watching this because it's really fun. It's one of those so bad it's good kind of things. I couldn't really give it a super high rating because it is, what it is. But yes, I would recommend it.
I actually seen this movie a long time ago. I rented it from the video store just based on the cover. Obviously, being a Friday the 13th fan, I saw this movie and I said, what is this guy with a chainsaw? And he's wearing the hockey mask that's on the poster for Friday the 13th Part 5. That's not even in the, Friday the 13th Part 5 movie. It's just that white hockey mask. And I rented it, and I remember it being really bad. And we got this crappy pack pretty much solely because it had Bloody Murder 1 and 2, so wanted to watch it again. Never seen the second one. This movie is definitely not good, but a pretty fun time watching it, though. I would recommend this movie if you're just in for a fun time.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master from 1988. If you've been watching our channel long enough to know what a Freddy fan I am, then you already know that I 1,000 million billion trillion % recommend this movie. I recommend all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies except the remake. But this is definitely one of the most memorable. I know it's one that I would always ask to watch the most when I was a little kid, because I'm thinking of, the death scenes, and I'm thinking of Wanna Suck Face and the Roach Motel and all those goodies. So please seek this out if you haven't seen it. It's so much fun. It's so creative. There's lots of likable characters. Freddy is a badass MF. I love him.
Yes, I definitely recommend this film as well. I think this is probably the Nightmare on Elm Street film that I watched the most as a child as well. Probably this and the third one. I don't know. This movie's just awesome. The junkyard scene and the cockroach scene were my favorite scenes as a kid. You got Robert Englund, classic Freddy.
Oh, and the soul pizza. Ooh, yuck.
Soul pizza. This movie's great. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Creepy Crawlers from 2000, which was also on our Crappy Horror Movie Pack, which is also apparently known as They Nest. This movie was actually pretty fucking cool. I think this film and Bloody Murder were probably the best films of the 8 that were on our Crappy Pack. For something that, is about a bunch of bugs and cockroaches and stuff. It was really well done, and it was really well made. It seemed to have at least a decent budget or something, because there was some CGI, but the CGI didn't look like garbage. I mean, I've seen Escape Room Tournament of Champions with shittier CGI. This actually was pretty cool. Apparently this was a TV film. I don't know what channel this was on, but I thought it was really cool. I highly recommend this. I actually think you should go check this one out.
Yeah, this movie actually had a largely decent cast as well, which can't be said for any of the other movies on this pack. Dean Stockwell was the sheriff, and John Savage, who was Lydecker on Dark Angel, that's what I knew him from, was also in here. Most of the acting was pretty good compared to the other Crappy Horror Movie packs as well. And as Psycho was saying, the effects, the bugs, just everything. I mean, it was creepy crawly for sure. I think they did a good job, and this was definitely one of the most fun movies we watched out of these 8, so I would recommend it. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It from 2021. Psycho also rented this on disc from Netflix. Although I was looking forward to seeing this because I love the prior 2 Conjuring films, the trailer did actually make it look sort of cheesy and bad. I was actually impressed with it after watching it. I do think the main thing that carries the whole film is the relationship between the Warrens, because it very quickly devolves from what the title is and the, supposed true events that it's based on into a witchy, cursey totem type thing that is still pretty entertaining and pretty cool and everything, but just not what you expect after you read the synopsis or watch the trailer or whatnot. So I would recommend it. Just know that the prior 2 Conjuring films are certainly better, and you're not completely getting the whole I'm pleading demon possession in my court case for murder thing when you go into it.
I was very surprised with this as well. When I heard that James Wan was not coming back to do the 3rd one, I was like, well, that movie's gonna suck. Wasn't really too blown away by the trailer, but this movie actually turned out to be pretty cool. I would recommend it. It's definitely one of the better Conjuring universe films, in my opinion. Shock from 1977, which Hellcat owns on DVD. I had never seen this before. She had. And this movie was fucking cool. For those that don't know, this is an Italian horror film by Mario Bava. So this is a classic story of weird things happening around a house, and no one believes the mother, and the kid is acting weird, and just weird shit's happening, and what is going on? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the movie, there's some revelations and things, and it's really fucked up, but really cool. I would recommend this movie 1,000%.
The way that the child is behaving in this film is disturbing on multiple levels. I just want to throw a quick little, trigger warning type thing out there that it might make some people uncomfortable, because some of the things that he says or does to his mom are icky. I don't want to say any certain words, but I think you might know what I'm talking about. But aside from that, there's a lot of crazy imagery in this. I think Daria as the lead does some really amazing, awesome acting. You can tell that it probably took a lot of energy and stuff to act out some of these things, and that kid is freaky, and there's just so many cool things to see in this movie. I definitely recommend it. One of the biggest reasons being, I rented this movie from Netflix a long time ago, like a few years back or something, just because I like Italian horror films and I was just trying to see some that I hadn't seen before. I think maybe I was looking through Daria's filmography and found this one or something, but there's a really iconic scene in here that I've seen before as like GIFs or clips or whatever on social media and things, where the child is running towards her down the hallway and then bam, just like very suddenly morphs into a full-grown man, like right in front of the camera. And it's super startling. It's fitting of the title shock, but it's been recreated so many stinking times in so many movies, and this is where they got it from. So I recommend it so you can see that, if nothing else, but I do think that the entire movie is awesome and worth watching. The Night House from 2020, which we rented on disc from Netflix. I guess I don't really pay too much attention to the year that a movie is released when I'm watching it. I feel like unless I go see it in the theater, the release date doesn't really stand out to me, but I can easily say, based on some of the new releases that we purposefully sought out, that I think this might be my favorite horror movie of 2021. I just loved everything about this movie. I don't think my initial reaction was like super duper stellar. I liked it and I was moved by it and everything, but the thing that got to me was I was thinking about it a whole bunch after the fact. I kept thinking about it. I kept replaying things in my head and thinking, oh, well, if that character had done this, then maybe that wouldn't have happened. And wow, if this didn't happen, then that wouldn't have happened. As well as just how beautiful it looks and how amazing Rebecca Hall is in this movie. She's very quickly becoming one of my favorite actors, because every time I see her in something, I'm like, damn. She just had to do some really crazy stuff in this movie, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I guess what I'll just say is, like, the base motivation and the reason for this stuff is happening is just, it's kind of like heart-wrenching. I don't know. I really love this movie. I'm obsessed, and now I'm waiting for the Blu-ray to come in the mail because I had to buy it. Definitely would recommend.
Yes, I definitely recommend this movie as well. I thought it was really interesting. This was one of the movies we talked about in one of our trailer videos, and was just super interested in that trailer and really wanted to see, how things played out. And this movie just turned out really cool. There's been a lot of trailers that we've watched and we're like, wow, that looks really cool. And then we watch it and it's like, whoa. But this was really cool. David Bruckner, the director, did a really good job. I believe he was supposed to direct a Friday the 13th movie and it all got squashed because of a bunch of bullshit. Would have been cool to see his take on Friday the 13th, but would definitely recommend this movie. Go seek it out. Black Christmas 1974, the original, no crappy remakes here. We watched this on a episode of Joe Bob on Shudder. This movie is a classic. I cannot recommend it anymore. It is awesome. I was a little late in the game in seeing this. It wasn't until after I met Hellcat that we watched this together, my first time seeing it, and I absolutely love it. Being a fan of, the original Halloween and Friday the 13th and stuff, I know it's not necessarily in that vein, but it's, an early precursor to that, and I thought it was really well done. I like the Christmas vibes that are going on and love this movie. Highly recommend it.
Even though this movie is pretty subtle, the creep factor is really high. I know that the first time I watched it, I was alone and I was pretty freaked out afterwards. It's just so disturbing to think about somebody being in your house and you're just going about your business not knowing it. It's like, I mean, sorry if that was a spoiler, but this movie's from 1974, so you should have seen it by now. Anyway, watch the movie if you haven't, and you don't even have to watch it around Christmas time, but it really is a great movie to watch at Christmas. Obviously, it's right there in the title. Just love the acting. Olivia Hussey's awesome, and I mean, so is mostly everyone else, and also good old John Saxon's in this, so yes, I do recommend this movie.
Friend request from 2016. We watched this on Hellcat's Blu-ray copy. This movie is kind of a guilty pleasure. It's not the greatest movie, but we enjoy it. I liked it. It does have some cool things in it. Pretty dark stuff here and there. So I saw this movie before ever seeing Fear the Walking Dead and, meeting the Alicia character from Fear the Walking Dead. So watching it again was fun, seeing her in something other than The Walking Dead. But I would recommend this movie. It was fun.
Yeah, I know some people might give me flack for buying this on Blu-ray, but just like Psycho said, it's a guilty pleasure. I mean, I don't really ever feel guilty about anything I like, but that's the term. So I do unabashedly enjoy this movie. It's kind of like a weird comfort movie for me. I just feel kind of cozy when I watch it, even though the subject matter and some of the visuals are like not comfy at all. I don't really even 100% know why, but I just really like Alicia Dunham-Carey. I just enjoy seeing her in things, and I've actually sought out some movies with her in it just because she's in it. So I think this might have been the first thing I saw her in, maybe. I don't know if that's why I liked it or what, but I just think it's the overall story. I do think the last part or the ending loses the steam a little bit. Overall, I would still recommend it.
The Advent Calendar from 2021, which we watched on Shudder. We actually just recently talked about this in one of our trailer videos, and another trailer that we talked about that actually turned out to be awesome.
Yay!
This movie was really cool. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend you go check it out. There's a lot of creepy stuff going on with the actual Advent Calendar device with the thing popping up and speaking in German and stuff. It's just really weird and unsettling.
I did enjoy this movie as well. I thought it was pretty original. It had some really visually stunning moments and some really shocking moments and some really sad moments. Overall, it was just really freaking entertaining, and I would definitely recommend it as well. A Christmas Horror Story from 2015, which we watched on my Blu-ray copy. I don't even know how many times I've seen this movie now. I just know that I saw it, and then I had my sister and her boyfriend watch it, and then I told Psycho to watch it, and then he told his friend to watch it. I spread this thing like wildfire. Now, on Letterboxd, there are not a lot of good reviews. People are basically just saying it's some kind of Christmas version of Trick or Treat, and it's ripping off Trick or Treat because it's an anthology and it's a holiday movie. I don't equate the two in any way. I don't get the comparison. It's just a fun movie. There are some really grody moments, and there are some really crazy moments, and then there's lots of humor at the same time. And I also think the twist with the wraparound story was awesome. I never saw it coming. It's just definitely worth watching. I mean, I know a lot of people say that the majority of anthologies are bad, but I still stand by my there's something for everyone thing. The stories in this are different from each other to where even if you didn't like the whole thing or you didn't like the wraparound, you could still like parts of it. And the last thing I'll say, because I'm talking too much, is that Krampus looks effing awesome. So even if you were just going to watch it for the Krampus... Krampus fights with Santa, okay? Who doesn't want to watch that? Just at least watch it for that. I recommend this movie.
I'll say this, in the day and age that we live in with, people having more access to create movies and film movies and stuff than they did in the past, there are a lot of movies that come out now. Go on any streaming service and just look at the recently added stuff and just go in there every week and look. There's more and more, horror movies that are just getting spit out. A lot of them are cheap and a lot of them are not good. And this is one of those movies that probably had a really low budget. And when you first look at it, it looks like it's going to be one of those ridiculous movies that are on some random streaming service somewhere. And you're like, but this one's good. This movie's awesome. I love it. And I highly recommend it.
Yeah. And the Shat is in it. So shut up.
I'll say one more thing. The people comparing it to Trick or Treat. Why are you even comparing it to Trick or Treat? Trick or Treat's its thing. This is their thing.
Word.
Krampus from 2015, which we watched on our Blu-ray copy. So this is from the same director that did Trick or Treat, another holiday horror film. I highly recommend this movie. I think Hellcat enjoys it a little bit more than I do. I really enjoyed this movie. I think all of the creepy toys in the attic is probably one of my favorite parts. The Jack in the Box crawling around all extended and stuff and just looking all creepy is probably my favorite thing in the whole movie. That and the little gingerbread men. I highly recommend this movie. If you have not seen it, go check it out.
I did not know that there were people in this world that existed that do not like this movie. I didn't know there were people that existed that hate this movie, but I'm going to tell you what, I don't understand you at all. I think this movie is fucking perfect. It is a 5-star movie. It is the most epic movie to watch every frackin' Christmas. I never get sick of it. I just love everything about it. I love the creature design. I love the practical effects. I love the humor. I love the emotional family parts. I just love everything. I think it's a great cast. Yeah, I'll stop gushing and just say I recommend this movie wholeheartedly. And we are all entitled to our own opinions, but I just don't understand you haters. I don't understand you. The Shining from 1980, which we watched on our Blu-ray copy. I just got done saying Krampus was a perfect movie, but I mean, if that's true, this is even more perfect, you know? I mean, this is, again, the definition of a 5-star film. This is definitely one of my all-time, top 5 favorite movies. Saw it as a child and obviously didn't completely understand everything that was going on, but I've seen it so many times since then, and I don't know really even why. I guess just because of the cold and winter vibes, but I started watching it on or around Christmas every year, so Psycho and I have adopted that tradition. For some reason in 2021, I saw a lot of people doing that. I was like, oh, this is a thing now, so maybe it's always been a thing, and I just didn't realize it, but regardless, the acting in this is flawless by literally everyone involved. The sets are amazing. I know that the subject matter comes from the Stephen King book and that he is not a big fan, but I just love this movie. I love it to no end, and I couldn't recommend it more.
So I honestly don't even know what I could say about this movie that would convey how awesome it is and how much I recommend you go watch this. So I'm just going to say that this movie is fucking awesome and you need to go watch it if you haven't. And even if you have, you should go watch it again because it's awesome. It's
also the type of thing you might notice some stuff you didn't see the first or second or third time around.
Yes. Dr. Sleep 2019. We watched this on our Blu-ray copy. This is the sequel to The Shining, for those who do not know. And of all the people that could probably do a proper sequel to The Shining, I think Mike Flanagan was a very good choice. I'm quickly becoming a huge fan of his. I'm pretty much like everything that he's done. We are a little slow at getting to the Haunting a Hill House series and then the new series that he came out with. But as far as his movies are concerned, I've seen them all and every one of them are fucking great. That being said, Dr. Sleep is amazing in my book. I pretty much love everything about it. We haven't seen it since we saw it in the theaters. So watching it on Blu-ray, we watched the director's cut, which is a little bit longer. There's some extended scenes and such. There's a lot of dark stuff in this movie and a lot of cool scenes at the end where they go back to the Overlook. And I just think it's really cool. I highly recommend it. I think you should go check it out.
Yes, I definitely remember just the feeling of being so psyched and almost overwhelmed after seeing it in the theater because, I mean, you heard me a minute ago. I was going on and on and on about The Shining and how much I love it and how many times I've seen it and blah, 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 blah. It would have really, really sucked if they made a sequel to this and it was a letdown. Now, for some people, I guess it was. And for some people, they just think it's fan service. I don't see it that way at all. I think it's so cool that Mike Flanagan set out to take parts of Stephen King's book and parts of Stanley Kubrick's movie and mix them together. I think he did an amazing job of accomplishing that. I, again, am super impressed by all of the performances in this film. Ewan McGregor is so awesome, and we love Rose the Hat. Even though she's so freaking evil, we love that character. We think she was portrayed amazingly. Even the little girl's a great actress. I mean, I just don't know what there isn't to love about this. I definitely recommend it. Night of the Living Dead from 1968. The OG George A. Romero version, which we actually watched on a Crappy Horror Movie Pack. We all know that this movie ends up on crappy packs all the time, or random packs of movies, because it's public domain. So that is what it is. Obviously, horror fans know that this movie is a masterpiece and that it is basically credited with completely kickstarting the whole zombie thing, which nowadays I'm sure a lot of us horror fans are just completely burned out on. But I think that's part of the reason going back and watching this again was so awesome. I definitely know I've seen it in the past more than once, but it had been a long time, and watching it again was really cool. Just seeing some of the performances, some of the zombies, some of the effects, and some of the decisions that they made with casting and just everything was so cool. I just really enjoyed myself. And also, black and white movies are so rad when they're done right, when the lighting is proper and everything, and this movie does that really well also. So obviously, I definitely recommend this.
I highly recommend this movie as well. I am not sure how many times I've seen this. I actually really like this version and the remake, which I think was early 90s. They're both fantastic, but obviously George Romero is the king. I'm actually really grateful that I got to meet George Romero at a convention and was able to get his autograph and everything. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about this movie. It's a classic. If you haven't seen it, go seek it out. It's pretty much everywhere. It's great. Highly recommend it.